Hello, and welcome to Spotlight on the Arts. I'm Michael McKeever, and I will be your host today. First, let me introduce you to our panel for the day. Karen Stevens. Karen is an award-winning actress who can be seen performing all over South Florida. Bill Hirschman. Bill is an arts journalist and the founder of FloridaTheaterOnStage.com. And Teddy Harrell. Teddy is the assistant center director at the African Heritage Cultural Arts Center. Our guest today is an amazing award-winning actress of stage and screen. She's also a terrific dancer. Please welcome to the show, Rita Joe. Rita, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
It's our pleasure. Welcome. All right, let's jump right into it. Tell us how you got involved in South Florida theater as an actress.
Wow. Oddly enough, when I first got here to South Florida, my husband, Harry Joe, decided, at the time, he wasn't my husband then, but we were courting, and at the time, he said, I want to take you to a play. Aren't you an actress? You haven't done anything. You've been here for a while. Let me take you out on a date to see a show. He took me to see Assassins by Zoetic Stage.
Well, I like that. I feel a little bit responsible now.
And after watching that production, I was like, okay, I cannot be here in South Florida and not do my thing, not do my passion. That's what I do. I eat, sleep, and breathe this. So it lit this fire under my behind that was like, do it. Don't stop. Don't take a break because you've moved to South Florida. Just do it. Then shortly after, I saw a audition posting that an actor friend of mine, Andre Gainey, led me to, and it was a posting for Sisters that Teddy Harrell was doing at the Cultural Arts Center. So I went and I auditioned for Sisters. That was directed by Rachel Findley, and that was my first production. And I got cast, and since then, it's been rolling.
One show after another, and you're just amazing. Every time I see you on stage, it's a whole different character, a whole different feel. I look at something like Island City Stage's Submission, and then something like White Guy on the Bus at Gable Stage, and then Outre's The Christians. Three different, completely different types of character, and yes, all three of them are so completely embodied. As an actress, how do you go about preparing for characters as different as those three?
That's a good one. The most important thing for me is music, oddly enough. So what I do when I'm getting into a production, and this is before rehearsal, this is before the show, this is before I sit at home and read the script, I make a playlist of music that I feel, if I was that character and this is my life, what would I listen to just sitting in the car?
That's fascinating. I've never heard that.
What would I listen to?
But that's great. Yeah, and so you put an entire mixtape together.
Playlist together, moods and whatever. Even if that character is upset, like if I'm upset with my husband, what would I listen to? And I just play that playlist over and over and over. And listening to that music over and over, it gets me in a mood, and it helps me to embody and feel what I think that character would feel. So even when I'm rehearsing and learning my lines, I'm learning my lines as a character. I'm learning it in that mood, and that practice makes perfect. So when you keep practicing that and you keep doing it, I guess by the time the show opens, I'm so in that vibe.
Do you keep that music playing while you're doing the show, during the run of the show as well? Do you keep...
Yes, I do. Sometimes if I discover something new in rehearsal and there's an additional song I catch on Pandora or something, or an older song that I think of, I'll add it to the playlist. Before I go on stage, I have my earplugs in. Anybody who's worked with me, my fellow actors, they know I plug in my earphones and I listen to my playlist. And before the show is running, before rehearsal, I'm bobbing my head, I'm dancing, I'm in my music, and I'm going over my lines. Sometimes I listen to the music more than I go over my lines in my head.
So I got to ask, what were some of the items on the playlist for those three shows? Not a lot, just a few.
Well, obviously for the Christians.
Yeah.
Went a little the gospel route.
Yeah.
I had some Kirk Franklin jams on there, Tamala Mann jams on there. Even Now, for White Guy on the Bus,
That was my next question.
yeah, because I know that's the one that everybody's like, for White Guy on the Bus, that character, because she was located, you know, in a harsh city where the environment is kind of tough, I listened to rough music, music that had harsh tones and beats to it. Urban music sometimes I would listen to, rap music I would listen to. One song I listened to was "This Is America." I don't know if you've heard of it.
Oh, sure.
Glover.
Glover.
Yeah.
I listened to that one, and some of the messages and some of the things in that song would help me to process kind of what's going on in the play with the social climate where we are, make it relatable to where we are now, so that when I go on stage, it feels like that.
It feeds into it, sure.
Yeah.
Sure. We've had dozens of actors on this show, and that's the first time I've heard that music played such a prominent role, which is great.
really does.
Where did you study theater? Did you go to school for theater?
I did. I went to UCF in Orlando, and I did the BFA track there, where it was performance theater. But even in performance theater, we had to take all those classes: theater, film classes, tap, ballet, jazz, musical theater, all that stuff. So even though I didn't go there for musical theater, I still had to sit there and take those classes. And I even got cast in Once on This Island, and you know, things like, so that's what started the dancing. And I was like, okay, well, to make it in this business, it seems you have to be a jack of all trades. Whatever you can get under your belt, you better get it. So once I started taking those classes, again, it lit something in under me, and I'm like, okay, I better perfect this too, perfect the dancing, because if I can't make it in that play, maybe I can make it in that play, make a connection with that person to get me to the next play or where I want to be.
Of course, the more you do, the more you're going to be recognized for these different
Right.
talents.
Right.
Excellent. Tell us a little about, we were just talking about White Guy on the Bus, which was mesmerizing. It was such an amazing performance and so completely different from you. When you're playing a character that is that complex and that different from you, give us a little bit of the process, other than the music going into
Right.
her.
Well,
White Guy on the Bus was on a production at Gables Stage in Coral Gables. I think I should just like
And explain
say
the
that.
part,
'cause-
yeah, what your part
right,
was.
right.
Yeah.
It's about a white. It's about a white guy on a bus who befriends an African American woman, and over the course of the play, you find out what his motives are for getting to know this woman and developing a relationship
And there's
with
a
her.
class difference, that he's a
Right.
wealthy,
He's a wealthy
suburban,
White
white-collar
guy.
kind of guy.
Yes, yes. That production, I would say, what weighed the most for me, what was most impactful, was the table talks. And that helped me the most in that process. Every play is different for me. During the process, I find different things that may contribute, but for White Guy on the Bus in particular, because we live today in that social climate, the table talks was very important and very instrumental for me. So to sit down with my castmates, to be the only African American in the cast, and to sit with them and to talk with them and to hear their thoughts and their views of just even outside of their characters, how they feel, inside of their characters, how they feel. It was moving, it was emotional, it was painful, it was enlightening, it was beautiful. So it created an energy inside of me that I was able to carry that on stage, because when I'm on stage with these people, I remember we sat down at the table, we talked as characters and we talked as people. And we made a connection in all ways and in both ways. So that play was heavy and it was deep, but I was able to embody it more and connect more because of the table talk and my music.
I want to ask
But
one more
that's-
thing about that play. One of the things that amazed me about that, and Joe Adler, the director, is very good at this, but a lot of what you and Tom Wall, playing the other man, did was basically sit next to each other in a room or on a bus seat, and you kept people mesmerized. And I don't mean that as false modesty. there was something you guys were able to do that kept, it was static. Nobody was moving, nobody was doing anything, just sitting and talking. Do you have any idea how you were able, the two of you and or with Joe, to keep the audience so riveted?
Well, while Joe was there, actually it was Michael Leeds. That we sat in the rehearsal process with more so, and he allowed us, and this is what I love about Leeds, he allowed us to have our moments, to discover what we needed to discover in the rehearsal process, and not worry about the outcome of it so much in the rehearsal process. Just sit there with each other, because we are confined to these chairs, and we would sit there, and sometimes we would just talk, sometimes not even on the script, in character, and just talk about how we feel. And doing that a lot, like I said, I mean, we're in rehearsals all day long, from, you know, whatever time in the morning to whatever time at night, and you sit there long enough with someone, you can't help but to start to feel and embody it. So we did a lot of improvs, and that was helpful and instrumental to talk in your own words, to say what I'm really feeling. If I didn't want to use the playwright's words, these are my words. It makes the feeling stick, so that when we get back on script, that feeling is still there for me. It's like I said it a different way, and that feeling that I felt when I said it in my words, I still feel that in this playwright's words. So doing it assiduously and just sitting there in the silence. So letting those moments happen in rehearsal, we were able to do that.
Sorry.
No, go ahead.
So let's talk.
She almost went windy on one.
So are you satisfied with the opportunities that you've been getting as an actress so far since you've been down here in South Florida?
I will not complain. I am so blessed. I'm so happy. I feel like the roles that I've been fortunate enough to come in contact with and to portray, I wouldn't have it any other way. I'm very satisfied. I'm very happy.
And I'm just sorry, just to follow up that, without revealing, going into too much detail, can you talk to us about how you, as a working mother, juggle a family job and working as a professional actor? It's hard.
It is very hard, because rehearsal, you spend more time with your acting buddies and your castmates and your cast friends than you do at home, and even with yourself sometimes. So what I have to make sure is that things are done before I get to rehearsal, and things are done when I get back home.
And it helps having someone there to help you.
Yes.
You do have a spouse.
Yes.
That helps a lot.
Yes, I probably couldn't do it without, obviously, because where I can't, he will. And if I have to be at a rehearsal by 6 p.m. in the afternoon, then I know that 3 p.m. I have to cook dinner. I have to make sure that's done, set in the microwave or set in the oven, and I turn the lights down, and I set the house in a way that if I were there, this is how the house would look, this is how the house would smell, and this is what you would have access to if I was here. So I leave it that way. Then I go off to rehearsal, then my life as an actress, and then I come back and everybody's fine. They've eaten, they're in bed, it's cool. And then sometimes I don't have rehearsals on Sundays, depending on what theater I'm working with. So I make sure that on Sundays or Saturdays, depending, because my husband is Seventh-day Adventist. So sometimes we go to church on Saturdays if I don't have rehearsal. If I have rehearsal, we'll go to church on Sundays, because I'm Baptist. So that's important. Faith, family, that's important. So I make sure I do that as much as I can. If rehearsal doesn't conflict, we go to church as a family. Make sure that bond is still there.
I gotta tell, I wish I was half as organized. The commitment you bring to the stage, you run your whole life that way. But it doesn't. It sounds like it's very fulfilling and very put together. But at the same time, it has this wonderful structure where nothing's gonna I mean, there are people watching right now who, you know, they can barely get out of bed in the morning, and here you guys this entire.
Me. That's me. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, bravo.
And don't get me wrong, sometimes it gets tough. Sometimes we're like, well, when you coming home, especially because the past 2 years I've been going show back to back to back. So it's like, oh, another one. Yay. You know?
Well, the first time I saw you on stage, it was at Island City Stage. It's a beautifully written play called The Submission about a white gay man who writes a play under the pseudonym of an African American woman, and it gets picked up by the Humanifest and becomes this big success. And so he hires an actress to play the playwright, who play him. And you were wonderful in that. We're going to take a quick look at a clip from that, and then we'll talk about it.
Having lived with some of these characters at this crossroads, you know, this crossroads of inspiration and I can't, I'm sorry, can you please? Sorry, thank you. Okay. I don't know about you guys, but I'm just gonna come right out and say it. I think this play is the bomb. Straight up, woo, yeah, right? And, you know, it may just be a play, but you know what, that's not even it. I think that's both the brand of minimizing the experience. And yeah, I'm talking to you. That's right, you. Because I'm sitting here too, and I'm thinking, you know, it's good and all, but this story matters. And I thought it was about who tells it. But that's not even, it's not about the owning. And I know we all want to own our own stories because that's what it's like to be a person. But tonight is not about that. Tonight is about the inevitable passing on of it. Now it's out there. It's not going to be yours anymore, or even mine. We're better than that. So, you know, the better path and the higher road is let the story go and do its job. And that's what I didn't know before tonight. So tonight, we can, all of us, we can make this story matter, make a difference. And I'm so proud to be here, so proud to be a part of it. And I'm so happy that you got to hear me say, in my own words, what I meant.
Great stuff, really good.
Excellent.
Tell us about that scene.
Well, first of all, that was 56 pounds ago.
Yikes.
So I'm sitting here going, I'm looking at it for different reasons.
I think you were beautiful then. I think you're beautiful now. I'm just saying.
Thank you so much. But in that scene, that's when she has had enough. That's when she's like, okay, I can't take it anymore because, yes, she signed up and she agreed to be the face of, you know, his words in this whole project, but she still put all her efforts and her work and her blood, sweat, and tears into it. And for him to get the credit, for the gay white man to get the credit after all of her hard work, you know, that was it for her. So that was the speech when she was supposed to, you know, give him credit and everything, and then she's like, whoa, I can't do this. No, I can't. This is bull. So
That was your first Carbonell nomination.
Yes.
The first of many that continue that you've been honored to receive. Bravo on that.
thank you. At first, when I first got down here, I didn't even know what a Carbonell was, and now I'm so honored because some actors talk to me and they're like, this is how this works, and so to even be recognized is amazing. So I thank the Carbonell committee and, you know, people like that who reach out and say, I acknowledge you for whatever it is.
Well, it's well deserved.
I'm sorry. No, I was just going to ask. I know adaptability for an actor can be challenging, and it can be very exciting too as well, especially when you're getting a number of jobs back to back in different houses. And how has it been adapting from one company to another company to another company? And how has that been? And how do you actually adapt to that?
Well, personally, it's not very hard for me to adapt because I'm a people person. I'm a huge people person. So when I get to a company, it's like, okay, who's vibing with me? Let's vibe together. Like that's, I'm so kumbaya. That's me. And I don't like dysfunction. I like to keep it professional, but keep it friendly. And so I've never had a problem really going from, everyone has their different policies and procedures, their different pays and their different hours and their different, so at first though, I'll tell you when it comes to the hours and things like that, that was difficult adjusting to, because then that's my husband and I changing our schedules up, because sometimes rehearsal is at night, and with some companies rehearsal is in the morning. Those types of things was hard adjusting to at first, because it's like, no, my schedule is gonna change up every now and then, and you gotta change with me. So, but now we've got it down pat. I've known him for 7 years, so we're cool now. But the other things that may be challenging, I guess, dealing with people, that has not yet been an issue. Hopefully that never will be.
Give it time.
Yeah. Because you guys are going, I'm like, is there something I don't know?
Well, also, also too, we all strive for that. We all strive to have a stress-free, drama-free environment. I always say, keep the drama on the stage, and because we love what we do and we want it to go well, so it's something that we always strive to have.
I'm curious about, we were talking about the opportunities that you've had. In seeing a great deal of theater out there, there is a large number of African American actors and writers and directors down here, but not as much opportunity other than African American centric work. And I'm wondering, do you have a feeling about colorblind casting, and whether you feel there's much, if any, of that going on?
Well, I'll be honest with you. I'm not sure if we're at a point where we can say, oh, this is where we should be. Right. I'm not sure what to measure that by. I will say I think we're moving in a way where we are progressing more towards that. I will say I've seen way more colorblind casting over the past 2 years than I have in a very long time. So I'll say we're picking up. I'm not sure if it's enough or if it's where we need to be. I'm not the judge of that. But I do see more, like when I get those emails and things that when I go scouting for my auditions, because I still pound the pavement and I still look. And when I'm looking, I'm seeing that more theaters are starting to do things that kind of cater to more ethnic casts now. But when you say colorblind, you mean like,
well, like when Karen was playing Van Hensen.
Yeah, non-traditional casting.
Right,
like
non-traditional.
Right,
the Christians are.
We're parts. Here's a prime example. Right now, in the process of casting a Zoetic Stage is Sweeney Todd, and it's really kind of exciting to see as many African Americans audition tapes as white Sweeney Todds. Right. It's exciting. We've got the gentleman who's going to be playing Anthony is Asian American, so it's fun to see that starting to happen more and more.
Okay. Yeah, and I think that it's, once theaters allow themselves the opportunity to consider different people, it becomes fun for them. Like it's like a light goes on. It's like, oh wow, there are more talented people from diverse backgrounds who are capable of doing these roles that don't necessarily, speak to one.
Right.
Certain
to what would be considered traditional.
Yes.
Well, I mean, are there roles, regardless of what they're traditionally cast as, that you go, man, I would kill to be able to do these 2 or 3 pieces? And it doesn't matter. They may or may not be traditionally one or another. Yeah, what would you like to do?
I want to make sure I have this character's name. I'm thinking of it and I'm trying to remember her name. It is A Doll's House 2. Nora's Daughter.
Nora's Daughter, yes.
That is a role I am interested in, and that would be non-traditional.
Right. Sure.
Casting, very. So when it comes to roles like that, I will say that is challenging as an African American woman, because you don't think your chances are high. When you go into that audition, you don't think you're going to get the role, because traditionally you don't really see that much here, I would say.
That's if you go to the audition at all.
That's a
Right.
good point. That's a really good point. Wow.
Right?
And maybe, and you're hitting on something, because maybe that's why I wasn't able to comment as much on it before, and that's why I had to clarify. You mean when it's non-traditional? Oh, because I haven't been in contact with that much. Because when I see the audition, there's a possibility I may not go. There's a possibility.
Well, it's good to know that the world's changing that way, that, that those walls are getting broken down.
Yeah.
Get yourself a playwright friend, girl, who writes plays.
And here's how that works too. I'm not kidding. You find talent. You write for the talent. The color of the skin becomes way secondary because you want someone who's going to really deliver and say those words the right way, as has been the case that I've been fortunate enough to experience. Very quickly, do you have a website?
I do. I am RitaJoe.com.
You are.
Don't type in the "you are," but it's www.IamRitaJoe.com.
Excellent. It's been a joy having you here. Very quickly, we've got probably about a minute left. What is your bucket role? What is the part you want to play? Just so I put it out there so theaters will start working on that.
the part I want to play. I want to do. Oh, well, see, I have it. Something that's on my bucket list. I wanted to be Ruth in A Raisin in the Sun.
Wow.
I have a lot of bucket list things, but that was more so on the bucket list. And I got the opportunity to audition about 2 weeks ago, and I landed the role.
Congratulations.
So
Bravo, well done.
I will be doing that in February. So
Congratulations.
Any film in the horizon for you?
I am trying. I'm pounding the pavement.
And you know what? I know you're going to land it. We have to wrap up now because this just flew as we knew it would.
Yeah.
Rita, thank you so much for being
Thank
here.
you.
You've been wonderful as we thought you would. I want to thank my panelists for being here today. As always, we cannot do it without all of you. And again, special thanks to Rita Joe for being our special guest and for sharing her career and her life with us today. I want to thank you all for watching. Spotlight on the Arts is a community program. That means we want you, the community, to get involved. You may subscribe to our email newsletter or simply drop us a line for suggestions or any encouragement you want to give. Our emailing address is spotlightonthearts@browardschools.com. And while you're at your computer, please go to floridatheateronstage.com and check out the theater reviews and arts calendar. Pick out a show, and as Iris Acker would always say, go to the theater. Thank you so much for joining us, and we will see you next week.